Afternoon, folks. I hope everybody's doing well. I can't complain. I haven't gone anywhere near the camera other than to do beers because this election cycle is everything I told you it would be back in September. I don't really have anything to add to it. And so I haven't bothered. But it's now Sunday, so we're 5 days in. And it looks like things are shaking out pretty much like I predicted. I did make the mistake of thinking dirty bomb when the bomb had already been exploded. The bomb was, of course, the coof, the woo flu, the Rona. And so I figured I would kind of update where we are a little. There is some news. Now, if you've been following the news, makes you a better person than I am. I can't go near that toxic pile of dog crap. But I have friends who are feeding off the fear-monger from the fear-mongering, from the MSN, and then they call me, and I'm like, why are you calling me? I told you to turn your shit off. I don't own a television, by the way. I have to get everything by actually going out and looking for it. They don't get to force-feed it into my head. Neither here nor there. So we are looking at all the crap that's going on now, and it turns out some of the software, and the hardware as well, that was being used to tabulate the votes may have been corrupted or suffered a glitch. You take it for what it's worth. But a company named Dominion was in charge of ballot collecting, ballot reading, scantrons, whatever the fuck they want to call it. It also turns out that Dominion had last year taken over ES&S, which was another company that did the same thing. This is why we have laws against monopolies, okay? And nobody's been enforcing them for the last 20 years, which is why we have these giant global multinational conglomerates. They've consolidated down an awful lot of power. So when people tell you about Facebook and Twitter affecting the outcome of the election, they're not wrong. They literally feed to people the information that the people want. Unfortunately, it's not the best source of information. Anyway, it turns out that this company, Dominion, that was in charge of reading the ballots, had a glitch, and the first one happened in Antrim County, where they took 6,000 votes from Trump and flipped them for Biden. Okay, one time's an accident. Then it turns out in Oakland County it happened again, same thing, 6,000 votes went to Biden from Trump. No, never went back the other way. Then it turns out 37 counties in Michigan, a highly contested state, use the same software. Then it came out that every one of the contested states, that would be Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, New Mexico. Did I miss anyone? Georgia. They all use the same software. And then on top of that, it turns out that 30 states use the same system and the same software. Now, at this point, you're looking at me and you're like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? See, here's the thing. It's a Canadian company. It's owned by a couple of fellas from Toronto. The company they took over, ES&S, well, they were having problems with the American government because of their connections to the Chinese. Chinese wrote the software and installed a lot of the hardware. And as we know, the Chi-Com party can lean on companies to have the companies give them what they want. That's right, you know, and you're the Chinese government. You tell them jump and they say how high. Maybe that'll stop it from flashing. I don't know. I got low light levels because the sun keeps going in and out. But it gets better. I wasn't even going to do this. I haven't gone near any of this bullshit. Other than to have people call me melting down and I'm like, turn your shit off. I'm sitting here and I'm watching Hercule Poirot. Alright? PBS, David Suchet. It was a series on for like a decade, 10 seasons. And it's really well done. It's Agatha Christie. See, when I was little, 3rd grade, teacher tells my mother my reading isn't up to par, and so I need to read more. And so over the summer, I have to read. Book a week. Comic books are fine. I can knock out 2 or 3 of those a day, but I also need to read. My mother was a big Christie fan. She started me on Christie. It turns out that I really like Conan Doyle. I was a Sherlock Holmes kid by the time I was probably 11. Read them all. The problem is, when you read detective novels, even if they're fantasy fiction, it instills in you the operating system, the way you look at things, the way you shake things down and break them down. That's why when I did the video back in September, Wargaming, it's early September, it's called Wargaming, the plot to steal the election. Something like that. You know, look for it. It's not that far back. That's why I was able to do it, and it didn't strike me until today because it's Sunday. I haven't watched sports in forever because it's a bread and circuses thing. I'm really not interested in. I don't like being told what to do or how to think, and so I have no idea why the rest of you are willing to let that happen, but that's on you, and as long as it makes you happy, fine. If you don't know what's happening, even better. Once you know what's happening, it's impossible not to see. It's one of those things that drives you crazy. Anyway. I'm sitting there and I'm watching this, and I like the show. The show's really well done. It's period piece, early 20s, usually England. What do they call them? Sitting room dramas or drawing room dramas or whatever, but they're always well done. And I'm watching Perot because I haven't watched Perot in forever. And he gets my little gray cells working. And the little gray cells tell me I need to put this out here just to clear things up. If by now you haven't looked at everything that's going on with Dominion and their software, with the election in general, let's not talk about the enthusiasm gap, even though Biden gives his acceptance speech to a half-empty parking lot of cars. Jeeps, no less. Gee, I wonder if Jeep is putting the money behind the Biden campaign. I want you to take a second and think about the definition of the word Dominion. Now, in Virginia, you have Old Dominion. It's a university, and that's a southern thing, but according to Merriam-Webster, the definition of Dominion is domain. Okay, this is my domain, right? The second is law. And the law version of dominion definition is supreme authority or sovereignty. It's kind of an odd word to use in conjunction with software, especially political software, but now there's one for the plural in Christianity. An order of angels is called dominions. There's another one, a self-governing nation of the Commonwealth of Nations other than the UK that acknowledges the British monarchy. Think Canada, where the software comes from. Australia. And the fifth one is another law term. And dominion in law means absolute ownership. Now this just strikes me as odd because I have no idea why software would have a name like that. My channel's name is Beer and Gear. I drink beer and I review gear, and then when we do stuff like this, I stick it under the subtitle of brews-and-views. Because I'm drinking beer and giving you my views on things. So according to Cambridge, dominion is a noun formal. It means control over a country or people. See, these things keep adding up. The land that belongs to a ruler. And they have a smart vocabulary section. So, under power to control, it means ascendancy, to be above one's pay grade, hegemony, leverage, predominance, pull, and sway. You know, you've been here before, you know, I'm kind of a tinfoil hat kind of guy, and I don't believe really in coincidences. Once might be a coincidence. Once is an accident, twice a pattern. That's what mathematicians tell you. You're not wrong. Let's just do some of the news that goes with this. Because remember when Holmes said, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. He was a made-up character, and yet, without a doubt, it's a fundamental truth. Arthur Conan Doyle was not wrong when he wrote those words. Now, normally I would go with Occam's razor, and Occam's razor says usually the simplest explanation, the majority of time, will be the correct explanation. You hear Tim Pool say it all the time. Timmy and I have slightly different versions, but I'm more of a tinfoil hat lunatic, and Tim wears a beanie because he's Tim. I never got the beanie thing. Incidentally, those are called knit watch caps. Beanies have propellers. Your generation is fucking up the language. You know, it just so happens that the same software that's been glitching in multiple counties, in multiple contested states, and used in the majority of state election and ballot counting, well, it turns out there might be a little more to the story than we thought besides China. Remember, we got rid of Huawei, and a couple of months back when I think it was San Francisco, or it might have been Texas, when they closed down the consulate for the Chi-Coms there, and they were burning papers, it was chatter then that there were ballots they were burning. Throwing it out there. You digest it as you will. But, developing. Nancy Pelosi's chief of staff is chief executive, and Feinstein's husband is a major shareholder at Dominion Ballot Counting Systems. We know Feinstein's got connections to China. She had a Chinese driver for 20 years. Sidney Powell was the one that dropped this. Sidney Powell's the lawyer for Flynn. You remember the guy that they repeatedly screwed over and tried to strong arm into rolling on Trump, right? The great Sidney Powell was on Mornings with Maria, and she unloaded on the monstrous amount of Democrat voter fraud in the 2020 election. But during this discussion, Maria Bartiromo dropped a bomb as well. During her discussion with Sidney Powell, Maria shared the following about the firm that runs the application used in Michigan, and we know it's not just Michigan, it's 30 states, where thousands of Trump votes were switched to Joe Biden. Maria Bartiromo: I've also seen reports that Nancy Pelosi's longtime chief of staff is a key executive of that company. Richard Bloom, Senator Feinstein's husband, is a significant shareholder of this company. And then there's the 2-minute clip of the show, but we're just going to pass on that. Bartiromo is correct. Bloomberg reported in April 2019 that Dominion Voting Systems, which commands more than a third of the voting machine market without having Washington lobbyists. How do you sell that much software without greasing a few palms? Oh, wait. Has hired its first high-powered firm that includes a longtime aide to Speaker Nancy Pelosi. If your car makes that much noise, it should be fucking fast. That's the point of making that much noise. Drives me insane. Also, Democrat Feinstein's husband does have a major stake in the corporation. I don't know about you folks. Little gray cells aside, conspiracy theories and tinfoil hats. The simplest answer is usually the correct answer. There's a lot of hanky-panky going on here, and that hanky-panky could very well lead to fraud and corruption. Whether or not Trump wins, whether or not the Democrats stole the election, you guys make these, enough of me. But I'll leave you with this. We're at 17 minutes. I got to get back to 10-minute videos. For everyone who's celebrating that Orange Man Bad is gone, if it turns out that Orange Man Bad had the election stolen from him, you should be quite upset, because they stole it from him. Who they really stole it from was you. Whether or not you think your team won, you're wrong. All the Trump supporters who, if Trump gets back in, and you think, yay, we stopped him, we defeated him, you did jack shit. See, until actual punishment is meted out for this kind of behavior, you will continue to receive this kind of behavior. The left and the right fail to understand there should be no left or right, there should be center. We all have commonalities, and that's what we should be working on. Those commonalities, by the way, should be covered with the word American. So if you're not an American first, why do you live in America? That's what I got for you folks, but this entire thing is still up in the air, and it's Sunday, and I've heard so many conspiracy theories that I'm not even going to touch, and I love conspiracy theories. I'm a conspiracy theory guy. This doesn't look like a conspiracy theory to me. This looks like we're going to win at all costs, whatever it takes. Just saying. Thanks for coming by, putting some eyeballs on here. If you got questions, hit me up. New folks, thank you for stopping by. Please like and share. Regular folks who come by on a regular basis, well, thank you. And thank you for liking and sharing. And I would recommend a good doctor to you, but I don't trust those people either. I'm a conspiracy theory person. Just kidding. Thanks for everything, and thanks for helping me grow the channel. I appreciate it. Folks, have a nice rest of the day, and hopefully tomorrow, Mr. Murphy's day, Mr. Murphy decides not to take a big old shit on all of us. Just saying. Oh. Skol, my friends.